So, Gautam, you describe inequality as one of the most important central political, social, and economic challenges in our time. What implications do structural and worsening inequalities have for urban social protection in the South?
So, Natalie, one of the things that structural inequality does is that it changes the rewards for labor. So, take a family, works hard, plays by all the rules, saves, invests. When inequalities become structural, even doing everything they possibly can is not enough to guarantee that their children's lives be better than them. So, structural inequality means that market growth by itself, even when successful, even when the GDP numbers add up, even when the economy is growing, will not distribute the gains of that growth evenly. It's like the sieve has broken. And so, in structural inequality, if you don't use social protection to deliberately lift a set of people, you will risk leaving too many people behind. And in cities of the South, that's not the last mile of 10 or 15% of your population. It's actually a majority of your citizens that are left out of it. That's what inequality breaks. It breaks the possibility of parents being able to give better lives to their children, despite doing everything that's asked for them. That's what it does.
What does transformative social protection mean for people living in unequal cities?
So take an example. Literacy is basic preventive social protection. High school is promotive social protection. It allows the safety net to act a little bit like a springboard. Free higher education and skilling is transformative social protection. So we've long played the game to say universal literacy, universal schooling, but in complex societies in modern times, those no longer give you gains and returns in terms of employment. So if the link between education and employment is breaking, then what we're giving to people must change. This, if you do the same exercise for everything else, it can no longer be minimal housing. It has to be affordable rent in the right location near work. It's no longer being able to just get to work, but it should be free public transport that gets you there. So when you start thinking of new entitlements that are able to turn your safety net into a trampoline, that is able to let you actually get to the next level, that's what transformative social protection looks like.
You also emphasize that responses to inequality need to be both specific and located. Why is this so important to give each city its own design?
Because I think practice requires that specificity. If we take an idea from one place and move it to the other, the idea may be a good one, but that idea has an institutional history behind it. It has a cultural translatability. It's understood a certain way, it's received a certain way. So you can move the idea, but you can't move the conditions in which that idea was born. And so it is very important to have a route, but a route, because the other end is equally dangerous, where we don't let knowledge travel at all. We feel like everything is so local and so specific. So I think the way I like to think about it is that ideas must be rooted. And because roots allow you to grow out. So if we can root an idea in a particular place, it means that it won't just be good, it will be effective, it will sustain, it will be received, it will have a chance to succeed in what is a very complex landscape. So asking yourself, is this idea an idea this place can recognize and accept is the question we've got to ask. That kind of locating is essential for anything to be real.
We know there are different stakeholders in cities. You have the local government and you have an elite as well. And we were speaking about, strengthening the voices of those that need so badly that change that they have nothing else to do but to go and create that change. And what does that look like in for instance in the case of housing?
Yeah. I think that these kinds of complex systems, you need people to play both direct and indirect roles. So the demand for better housing conditions has to come from residents. But without someone to receive that demand, it is not enough. So I have a colleague who has this lovely way of describing the kinds of people you need in a system. And he calls one of them prophets and sentinels who tell you the big visions and imagine the utopias. He calls some the activists who fight and lead the struggle. And then he has someone called the subversive bureaucrat who is in the system, maybe an elite, maybe an officer, maybe part of the state, right? Who's not in the periphery, but who sometimes quietly, sometimes openly makes room for the struggle to survive, to have a chance, for the system to actually change it and not in so many ways, not in many ways actually make all of it fall apart. Because if you look at, say, the Arab Spring, that initial moment of struggle did not lead to large-scale improvements in social outcomes because there wasn't any system to receive it. So I think, to me, if I think of the two main types of stakeholders, there are the folks who must raise the voice with the moral, ethical, political legitimacy to shake us into doing something. Because otherwise, systems will settle in for the long haul. They will not change. But that initial moment to change needs someone to hold it. And for this, the government actors, the bureaucrats, the elites, they have to be able to receive it. That, if those two moments in particular times in history can combine, you can see actually lasting systemic change occur. And everything has to play around it. Sometimes it'll happen around democratic elections, sometimes it'll happen around public revolutions. And very few of us know why in sometimes one moment, one tactic works, and in other times the other tactic works. Very hard to tell in advance.
Yeah. Do you think that there are a particular actor that requires in cities in the South to make room for the struggle to survive?
I think that in many of our cities, the thing that I wish I would see more of is partnerships, middle level partnerships between a much more diverse set of civil society and private actors and the local government. And so if you take the word PPP, right, the public private partnership, it's rightly denounced by many folks. But there's also a small p, small p, small p, which is a union that works with the local government for waste cooperatives, which is a mid-sized, company that is started by a first generation entrepreneur. Not all private has to be corporate. Not all. So to me, this set of stakeholders, this new sister set of institutions that are able to work together without needing to concentrate wealth, but actually to seek to distribute it, I feel like these stakeholders are the new ones. I look to them a lot for new ways of acting in our cities because I think that when you get to a point of power and privilege, even if your intention is to redistribute, there is a sort of DNA locked into that amount of power. But middle level elite actors, I think, have the possibility to act differently. And when they are able to come together with local government as opposed to national government, there is a kind of accountability because of the locality. So if I think about a particular city in which a local elite who owns 2 factories, not 20, right, and works with the local government, they can come together in place to actually create a system that's very powerful. Those are the stakeholders I wish will bloom in much larger numbers in my lifetime.
Okay. Gautam, thank you so much for coming from far to this conference and for also adding your voice to the conversations we've had here at the Conference for Future of Social Mobility. So thank you very, very much.
It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.